of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Welcome to episode 283. Welcome to Past Lives, and welcome to another new episode of the Cinemen Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan. I'm joined by Zach. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Super Bowl Sunday, everybody. As
Super Bowl weekend.
You can tell who I'm going for tonight.
Super Bowl Sunday. It should be I think the Monday after should still be considered a national holiday.
I think so too. So that way we can just have an extra day off.
But yeah, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so that's why we're starting this morning instead of later this evening. But Zach, you planning on watching the big game?
Yep. It's kind of like everybody.
You got all your snacks ready?
I gotta go get some snacks right when we're done with this. Gotta go get some, and then we'll be good to go.
What's on your menu for today?
We're thinking about we might make an actual dinner, but we might go get some like chips, salsa, queso, some tortillas, make it like a little party thing.
Nice.
I think we did that last year. What about you?
I think we're doing wings and dogs. Wings and hot dogs. Dogs.
You cooking the wings, or are you going to get them?
No. Little grocery store down the street has a nice little 3-pound bag for $6. So
nice.
But we're here to talk about past lives. We're also going to reveal our top 5 worst movies of 2023. But last week we reviewed and talked all about Casablanca. You guys can review and listen to that episode anywhere you listen to podcasts: iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher. You can also watch it on demand on Facebook Live and here on ImSwap YouTube channel. But if you want to follow us on the social, Zach, how do they get us on the social?
Yeah, we're all over the socials. So Facebook.com / the Cinemen Movie Podcast, the old famous Instagram / Cinemen Movie Podcast, X, formerly known as Twitter, Cinemen405. And if you want to send us an email, some recommendations, some hate mail, some love, and everything in between, email us at cinemen921@gmail.com.
gmail.com. Also, let's get into some recent watches. Zach, do you have anything you want to recommend to anybody?
I did go see Argyle. Don't waste your time with that, please. Just do yourself a favor.
That looks terrible.
The only positive thing was Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard. They actually had some good chemistry in there. But other than that, it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. There's no need for that movie to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. I finished reading finally Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I rewatched the movie. Fun movie. We might need to do a little bit more Harry Potter this year. I'm not gonna lie.
That was that's the franchise that I kicked off this little franchise frenzy with, and I agree. It was a really good franchise to go back and just dive deep into. It's
fun because I haven't seen the movies in just go reading them. I'm doing kind of like read the book then watch the movie, just do compare and contrast. There's stuff in that movie I forgot even happened. I remember like the trials they had to go through, and the ending with Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort is probably the best part of the movie. Other than that, really checked out Past Lives for today's episode, and really that's about it. So Harry Potter movies are on Max. Don't go see Argyle, and check out Past Lives.
Let me see. I went through the Rocky franchise this past week after Casablanca. I watched 1 through 6 and then checked out Creed 1, 2, and 3. It's up on the social medias, but you know what? I gave that entire franchise a 9 out of 10. just because, like, honestly, there's no
Th-
bad movie in that franchise. Rocky, you might be able to point out Rocky 5, but
It's
even
not great, but still, it has a good story to it.
yeah, it's watchable. It's got some memories and moments in there. They bring back Burgess Method for some scenes with Mickey. Overall, like, I highly recommend it. To me, I feel like Rocky and Stallone, they do better boxing scenes than boxing has actual fights. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and if you notice, there's some other boxing movies out there, but nobody takes control of the boxing scenes quite like these movies do. Um, and like I said, every story pays off. The character development is really, really well. So um, I recommend the Rocky franchise and the Creed movies. Finished off with Jackie. I watched Jackie after I just got on my JFK binge. And dude, I forgot how depressing Jackie is.
yeah.
And it feels like an A24 movie. The entire thing does. Um, I highly recommend Jackie.
Part of me thinks it was A24, but isn't it like Fox Searchlight or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I watched Walk the Line yesterday.
nice.
Those two performances are really good, but something just I thought I was gonna really love the movie, but I just like, it's good, but it's not like great.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember liking it a lot. So,
Thanksgiving, I finally checked that out. Not
hmm,
not not bad. It's your fun Eli Roth gory movie. It also
yeah,
kind of feels like a horror comedy at some points. And then I checked out Past Lives again for today's episode. So if I had to recommend anything, I think Walk the Line is on Max,
hmm.
um, the Creed movies, and Jackie. So, but Zach, we're gonna let people know our worst of the worst movies of 2023, and we're also gonna give out our prestigious Dog Shit of the Year award, which is considered our worst movie of the entire year. So
I think it's become a legendary award myself.
should be pretty fun. And we'll cap everything off Sunday, March 10th, as we talk our top 5 plus 5 movies of 2023. We're also going to hand out favorite actor, actress, favorite horror movie, favorite comedy, and just going to have a fun episode Sunday, March 10th. So here we go. Let's talk our top 5. Zach, do you have any honorable
Hmm.
mentions?
Yeah. So for my honorable mentions, worst of the year, I got 65, which I thought I expect a lot more from that. You're gonna hate me, dude. I don't care, but I'm just being honest right here. Megan, Cocaine Bear, and my official honorable mention, Insidious: The Red Door.
Oof.
Yeah.
Um, my honorable mentions are going to be um, 80 for Brady,
Oh God, you actually watched that?
Quiz Lady, and my official honorable mention is going to be Weenie Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Who was in that quiz lady? Was that Aquafina? Was
Aquafina,
she in that? Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah,
All
and
right.
Will Ferrell,
Oh, yeah. All right.
yeah. So
So this is gonna be fun. This is fun already.
let's
I'm su-
let's
I'm
what's that?
surprised the Winnie the Pooh movie wasn't in the top five. I'm gonna be honest. Was there just five more terrible movies?
Yes.
All right.
And let me start off with number 5. Um, Number 5 for me is going to be Heart of Stone, the Netflix
Mm,
exclusive with Gal Gadot. Um, anytime she puts together a movie, you're kind of like, oh, I can't wait to see what kind of physical role she does, whether it's her own stunts or what kind of, movie they put her in. But when you start getting typecast by Netflix and they're looking to just push out anything as much as they can, it kind of just spells disaster all over the place. And that's what the Heart of Stone was for me. So it's on Netflix. If you dare, go check it out. But it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes that you're just not gonna get back. And honestly, I believe she's kind of become a little stale.
Hmm.
They've tried to put her in some comedies. They've tried to put her in some action movies without being Wonder Woman. I just think she's now got the Wonder Woman curse, man. I don't think she's not gonna
Yeah,
pop out. Yeah, unless you use her for her looks or do like a Baywatch type movie or maybe just put her back in as Wonder Woman. I don't see her um I just don't see her, sparking out as anything else.
yeah,
Unless you want to throw her in there as a Bond girl, maybe she can do something like that.
yeah. That'd be cool.
But yeah, number
I
5 for me is Heart of Stone.
I saw that. I didn't see that movie, but it was just on my Netflix queue. I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. I just heard the bad buzz about it, and just like it's like you said, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like, no, I can't.
No.
So, my number 5 is a film that no one in the world has heard of except for maybe me and maybe you. So this won't take too long. My number 5 is Marlowe, the Liam Neeson like noir detective movie that
I
came
almost
out
bought that.
earlier this year. It's in the late 1930s, Bay City. A brooding, down on his luck detective is hired to find the ex-lover of glamorous heiress. It it is so boring. I usually like period pieces like that. And it's just I like the 1930s and that look. And Liam Neeson fits in that world, but it is just dull. There's no good acting in it. I think I get actors got to take a just take a paycheck just because they need it. But this, mm-mm. No, not good, guys. Not good at all. I will say positive. I did like the production design. It did look like 1930s California, wherever it was. So there is some good attempt at trying to make that as real as recreated as possible. But the storyline is just not very good.
Oof. Number 4 for me is going to be The Expendables 4.
Oh,
It was rough, man. When you spoiler alert on The Expendables 4 if you haven't seen it, I believe it's on Paramount Plus. Um, but man, you kill off Stallone at the beginning of the movie, and
what's
he's
the point?
he's gone almost the entire movie except for the last 10 minutes. So you have Jason Statham, which can carry a movie. Don't get me wrong, um, but you have him compete. You have him carry the movie with Megan Fox,
No.
and then you have the Megan Fox fight scene where they end up turning it into a love scene. I completely wanted to wash my hands of it. I was bored the entire hour and 45 minutes. It's lucky it didn't make number 1, okay? And the only reason I have it at 4, I did have it a little higher, but the only reason I moved it down was because of Stallone. I can't do Rocky like that. I can't do Stallone like that. But it's pretty bad. If any movie should kill off a franchise, this should be the last Expendables movie because it was god awful. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I think I gave it like
Yeah.
original. I think I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Yeah. It'll show back up. Just don't worry.
So what's
So,
what's your what's your number 4?
number 4, you're gonna hate me for this one, but like I said, when we do these lists, we got to be honest with each other, and this is just made it number 4. Number 4 is The Exorcist Believer. It. I understand. Look, I get we're in a time where requels dominate the horror genre. We did it with Scream. We did it with all these other types
Halloween.
of films, Halloween. And I would think with David Gordon Green and Dana McBride doing the Halloween, that Halloween trilogy, it's got mixed results. Some people really like it. Some people thought the first one was great, then the last 2 are terrible. I think, I think we had something kind of good with that, and then they're going to take on the Exorcist franchise and do something different. We talked about this when I first watched it. I don't know, December or whatever. It is boring. There's just nothing going on in it. And I understand that's kind of like the formula from the original Exorcist. Like you build up until the actual exorcism sequence. Terrible acting. I don't care about the kids. I don't care about the families. There's just nothing that attached me to these characters. And the scares in this are terrible. And you bring back Ellen Burstyn. Spoiler alert for anyone who cares. You bring back Ellen Burstyn so that she can get stabbed in the eyes. And then you have like a 5-second cameo with Reagan at the end of the movie, Linda Blair at the end of the movie. Like, what? And it was so bad that I think, from what I understand, they're not even doing the next 2 films. I think David Gordon Green walked away from it. And I don't think Deceiver, which is the second film, and the third film are even going to happen now. That's how bad. Like, you talk about how a film could end a whole franchise. That's how bad this was. So that's my number 4.
My number 3 is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's my number 3 too. So let's talk about it together.
I completely was in for it, but then I was like, oh,
I don't get it.
I don't get it. It's streaming exclusively on Peacock and theaters. You go dig out Josh Hutcherson. You put Matthew Lillard in there probably for a little bit of a horror nostalgia. With Scooby-Doo, Scream, and 13 Ghosts. But like I was, my thumbs were in my hand. I was twiddling them the whole time. I wanted to play on my phone, but I didn't. And I get the concept. Believe me, it's a video game adapted into a movie, a horror movie. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's not done right. It's boring. If this is a generational type horror movie for kids who have played that game like 10 years ago, then this generation is doomed. Because if people find that entertaining and want to go check that out at the movies and call that a horror movie, then I should Abraham Lincoln myself. Because that's disturbing. But
I'll just say to myself, I'll just say that I'm glad it was on Peacock and I didn't have to actually physically go to the theater and watch it. I'm on the opposite side of you. I don't get it. I don't understand how this is a whole franchise thing that people that kids younger than us absolutely love. What is the appeal for it? I don't get it. I understand the concept of like it's Blumhouse. Yeah.
Oh fuck me.
So it'll definitely be getting a sequel just because it was made for so cheap and made so much money at the box office. I think
it's terrible. I just
I will say Josh Hutcherson was good in it, but it didn't save the movie and the whole concept of I like the concept of a killer Chuck E. Cheese thing. That was kind of an interesting concept, but they just did it in a way that was so boring. By the end of the film, you're like, okay, just kill whoever you need to so I can roll credits and get out of here.
And it was like 2 hours long.
Yeah, well, I thought it was longer. It's actually just barely. It's like an hour and 50 minutes.
If you want to watch something that's the same concept but has more badassery in it, go watch Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage, and that thing's only an hour and 20 minutes.
And you're in or out.
Yeah. It's fucking terrible. My number 2 is, talked about him earlier with Jason Statham. Number 2 for me is the Meg 2. I'm kind of like you, Zach. I like disaster movies. I like movies where animals, just completely rattle the cage and want to kill you. I love big shark movies, but this one did not do it for me. Again, boring, outdone, and rumors of there being a third one is just absolutely absurd to me. I'm not a fan. It was boring. I only have it because it was a Jason Statham movie. Where is it at? It's somewhere. Yeah, the Meg 2. Yeah, it's insane. Never again. I feel bad for Jason Statham, but you know what? Good for him though, because he's getting paid. He's doing all these movies decades later. I heard he did something called The Beekeeper that actually got positive reviews.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
So you know what?
He had a
I'm
rough
glad.
he had a rough he had a rough year last year, so maybe this one will turn it around.
Well, you know what? Operation Fortune didn't make my list, so two I heard, out of the three movies he did last year, I heard they were all kind of mediocre, but I didn't mind Operation Fortune. I love Guy Ritchie though, so maybe that's a little biased.
Yeah, that's true.
What's your number two?
Number two is a film that came out the same day as Across the Spider Verse, and I'm glad I saw it for free because otherwise this would probably be my dog shit of the year. Number two is The Boogeyman, an
Oof.
adaptation of like the Stephen King short story. This movie, it should have been like what they did for Prey, just put it on Hulu as a Hulu original. It didn't need to be in the theater. It didn't have like no one in the movie is a well-known actor or actress. It was just slow, a buildup that was really leading up to a CGI creature that was in the dark and you couldn't hardly see what it was. Just bad, just real bad. Stephen King, I've just noticed, while he does have really good concepts, they're good for books. They're not really good for movies. The It movies obviously were probably the best ones. The Shining, obviously, but seven out of 8 times, they're not good movies. They don't translate well into that medium. And this was definitely one of them. So it just, yeah, adds to that pile. Number two, The Boogeyman.
Wow, that's on Hulu now, and then I think that did get a physical media release. I almost bought it, but yeah, the asking price is still 19.99.
No. What's your number one worst movie of 2023?
My worst movie of 2023, and it gets the prestigious White Dog Shit of the Year award. You already mentioned it. Is The Exorcist, The Believer?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, like
That shocked me.
everything you say about it, man, it's true. It's dull. It's boring. You don't care about any of the characters. Um, there's only probably one cool scene in it, but even then, it's just kind of dumbfounded about the whole movie. Um, you bring in the mom, which I don't think was needed. Obviously, she's got bad taste in her mouth. She made a book about her daughter's fucking freak accident. Um, yeah, there's nothing entertaining about this movie. Everything is just poorly done. I think Blumhouse is, they're not going anywhere because they make movies for $1 million and they turn around and get a 15,
Yeah.
20, 30 million at the box office. But Danny McBride and Jason Blum should just stop doing what they're doing as far as requels go and sequels, and just do original content like you do. Like, stuff like The Black Phone, that's fine. That's good. But then you turn around and you put out some shit show like Five Nights at Freddy's or, The Exorcist, The Believer, and you're like, God damn, I wanted an exorcist myself.
Five Nights at Freddy's. It had a budget of $20 million. That movie made $300 million at the box office. So that's what I'm talking about.
I can't believe you people out there went and paid to watch Five Nights at Freddy's when it was on Peacock.
Yeah.
Send some emails, send some messages, send something. Like, what is the why did that movie make so much money? Five Nights at Freddy's did not. Ugh.
Exorcist Believer had a budget of $30 million and it made $137 million at the box office. I'm just like,
I think
this
that's
is the
I think
world.
that
That's
I think
the
it's
world we
still
live
gonna
in, man.
I think it's still gonna get a sequel because of how much
Oh,
money it made.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think the new Exorcist movie is complete trash. So that's my worst movie of the year so far.
And the thing is, I think The Exorcist is not a proven franchise. Halloween is a proven franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, even Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But The Exorcist, you have one good movie, and then you have all these other ones that are just trying so desperately hard to get that magic or that
But
horror
but
element.
that's horror movies in general, though. I mean, look at
I
the
know. I know.
Amityville Horror, The Omen, all that stuff.
Saw 11 comes out this year. Yeah.
Well, watch your mouth on Saw, okay? At
I
least
like the Saw. At least those are a little bit more entertaining.
they're watchable, and the best thing about them is they're only an hour and 20 to an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Exorcist was what, 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that.
It was garbage.
Yep. So going into mine, I actually have a number one and my dog shit. So my number one worst movie of 2023 was The Expendables, or Expendables 4, as you would say. Awful, dude. It took me, I'm not even joking, I think it took me 4 times to get through it. I'm not even joking. And if I was Stallone, you kill me off, I ain't coming back at the end. No, you kill me off, I'm done. And I'm sitting there watching it, a 2023 film, and I'm just like, why do the graphics look like a PlayStation 2 video game? Like, I'm not even joking. It was so bad. The attack where they're like in the desert, that'll look like something from like a Prince of Persia game from like 2002. I'm just like, what? These are the type of graphics we're putting into movies nowadays? And it was so bad. And Andy Garcia being the bag, just threw up in my mouth a little bit, to be honest. And then the only reason this is my dog shit of the year award is because I saw this in the theater. I saw it for free, and I still wanted a refund. My dog shit of the year for 2023 is The Meg 2, The Trench. Terrible, terrible. And I'll defend that first Meg movie because it got what it was. It was a B monster movie. That's all it was, and you had fun with it. Jason Statham kicked ass, and you saw giant shark eat people. That's all you need to see. You don't need to put horrible CGI dinosaurs. You don't need to have a whole backstory about him trying to save the world through a trench at the bottom of the ocean where you have horrible visual effects. And then the reason you go see it is for him to fight giant megalodons, and that's only 15 minutes of the 2-hour movie. Like, and the movie was over, the credits started rolling, there's a group of people by me, they're just like, oh, that was really good. And I'm just like, oh, they said they like this better than the Haunted Mansion remake from this last year. I'm just like, I just had to get up and leave. I was like, I can't, because I will start cussing people out if I start talking to them. So it just, I'll be honest, dude, the movies that were rough, the movies that were bad, they were rough. They were really rough.
I bet we could have probably talked another we could have added 5 more movies in there.
Yeah, I mean, what were your honorable mentions? Oh, the
Quiz Lady and 80 for Brady.
80 for Brady was on my watch list for a long time. I was like, I'm not doing this to myself. It's never
and I like football movies. I really do. And I like Sally Field. I like them old bitches. But I just I could
like him in it.
No, I could not like him in this. Yeah.
So you want to move on and do a little something positive? Talk about an actual good movie.
Let's talk about a good movie. Today we're talking about Past Lives, guys. It is one of the latest movies from A24, but it also is nominated for Best Picture this year. So we're keeping the theme of at least talking about some of the Best Picture movies that we have seen. Currently on IMDb, it has a 7.9, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Metascore is at 94%. With a release date of June 2nd, 2023, its budget was $12 million, and it grossed a little over $23 million at the box office. Nora and Hae Sung, 2 deeply connected childhood friends, are wrestled apart after Nora's family immigrates from South Korea to Canada. 20 years later, they are reunited for one faithful week as they confront notations of love and destiny. Starring Greta Lee, Tu Yu, John Magaro, and directed by Celine Song. This is streaming on Showtime anytime. You can rent it on Prime Video for $3.99. or if you guys still do physical media, I believe you can still find this at like Walmart for $14.99 on Blu-ray. Um, so Zach, do you remember? This is your first time watching it, or have you seen it before?
I saw it before. I think I saw it, I don't know, November, December, when you got it on, put it on the Vudu. I really, really liked it the first time. I liked the, we'll get into it. The second time though, it was kind of a challenge to watch. Not so much the storyline, but just more of the pacing. I just felt the pacing of it this time. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
Same. Honestly, it's an hour and 45 minutes. I really liked it the first time. I was like, man, one of the best movies of the year. 10 out of 10, no doubt. This time I kind of felt the same way you did. Almost honestly the same way. Um, don't get me wrong, there were still great scenes between the two. The cinematography is out of this world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Good chemistry, good acting, but it doesn't save the fact that there are some pacing issues.
Yeah.
And for it being an hour and 45 minutes, you would think, oh, you're in and you're out. You know, if it's that good of a movie, it holds you and connects you. But it lost me a lot. But that's jumping ahead. Um, but let's talk about it. You know, they meet in Korea. I really like how the movie opens, where an American couple sounds like is judging
Mm-hmm.
at one of the scenes from the bar, where you have um,
You
when
have Nora,
you have
High Song, and Arthur. They're just sitting at the bar, and you have, like you said, an American. I call it just like stranger watching, and you're just trying to come up with ideas of how are these three people related, and then we jump back to 24 years earlier when Nora and High Song are kids, and then and we begin the story.
and the story takes off really really quick with the the conversations in Korea. You can tell the two kids
Mm-hmm.
cling and they start holding hands. They like each other, obviously. I'm
Yeah,
guessing they're probably what, like maybe 9 or 10, between 9
yeah,
and 11.
yeah,
And then you get the statue scene where the mom is telling the other mom, hey, we're immigrating soon.
yeah,
And they're going to Canada because her dad is a film director. Um, but it does have A24 just plastered all over it with
yeah.
the scores, the scenes, the cinematography. Like I said, um, me and you might fight, but I think this has better cinematography than Oppenheimer.
Hey, listen, we will fight.
I think
I'll meet you at your house. I'll be right back.
I think this has better cinematography than Killers of the Flower Moon. I think it just has that good old fashioned long shots, and we'll talk about the long shots throughout the movie. Um,
And
so,
ironically,
and it was filmed
um,
on location, I think, in New York City as well.
yeah, and ironically, all those movies that you mentioned, they're all nominated. They're Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon, and El Conde are nominated for cinematography, but this is not. And I agree. Like there are a lot of good shots. Like the scene where in the beginning where they're having their date in the park and they're just like running around with the statues and the mom are just talking with each other. I like how the cinematographer does a very good job of just placing the camera somewhere and let the scene play out. I think that's one of the biggest positives about this movie. Later on, jumping ahead of when they're grown and they are at Nora and Hai Sung are at like a pier and there's a merry-go-round in the background.
Yeah.
I, that to me is like what makes a good movie good, because it's almost like it's the metaphor of they're talking about their lives, but they're also, you have the metaphor in the merry-go-round in the background, and they're just going around the same motions every time that they're with each other. And I think that's just like perfect symbolism for that.
Keep going.
Um, what would you when they started when they did the immigrating and like the last shot of them as when they're kids together, the two pass in the street. Nora goes up the steps and Hai Sung just goes down the street. That's also a great symbolism of like now they're going on two different paths, and whether or not they are going to intersect again in their lives is kind of like what the rest of the movie is about.
And also, like, I mean, you start watching their young individual lives when they're in college and they start doing the FaceTiming. When they start doing the FaceTiming and the video chats, to me, that's when the pacing issues started for me.
Oh, see, I had the opposite. Like when they did, like the first time when I watched this the first time, the FaceTiming and like the reconnecting through Skype calls, that was the best part of the movie for me. Cause like you can, it's one of those situations where you kind of can relate, whether it's someone from your past or someone that you kind of had a crush on and you finally get to reconnect. You have those feelings of like, wow, I haven't seen you in forever. You've changed, It's kind of like the old memories start kicking in. It's just like I can relate to that, and so I enjoy that. It was when we got to, for me, the pacing issues kicked in when she met Arthur at like the art escape or whatever, or art convention or whatever it was. And it was just like, okay. Anytime Nora is with Hai Sung, I think the movie works. Anytime she's with Arthur, it kind of slows down to me.
Do you think, and I'm just gonna spitball this, but I think that's done on purpose. I think they put those two in those kind of situations so you can maybe feel, oh,
They
Sung
belong
and
together.
yeah, and Sung and Noah
Yeah.
belong together. This guy, like he says when they're laying in bed, he's the evil American that is laying between her and Sung as far as their destiny goes. So I think,
Yeah.
and to me, the movie really kicks off when they finally reconnect in person again. It's 54 minutes. That's an hour into the movie.
Yeah. And you have only 45 minutes left.
Yeah, so to me, that's why I'm pacing, because okay, yeah, the acting is good when they're doing the Skype video or whatever, but you know, the acting really goes up a notch when they finally meet together in their adult lives after 24 years. Once they meet at that 55-minute mark, to me, the rest of the movie just flies by. Um, and it is a little cringe. Like I said, it's a little cringy when Arthur and his wife, uh, Nora, are hanging out, talking, having that conversation, because it just feels, the subject matter that they talk about sometimes just feels awkward. Like when they're both getting ready for the day in the bathroom, whether it's getting ready for nighttime, I don't know. And he's like, you know, are you attracted to him? There's that awkwardness of, should she tell him the truth? Should she lie to him? But she spits it out at him and she covers it up smoothly. I think that conversation went smoothly. If that was a real life conversation that I was involved in, I would be like, okay, she wasn't lying, but yet it was awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. The thematic material in the movie, when she's talking to Arthur about the Yin Yun, which is essentially a Korean word for fate, I really enjoy that aspect because it kind of cuts back between Nora and Arthur and Han Sung doing his thing where he has to enroll in the Korean army because that's just something that they have to do at a certain age. But then, his friends are giving him crap because, oh, so you're going to New York because you want to go see Nora? It's just like, no. But that's, obviously that's something that as guys, we don't want to admit that we want to go see someone that we're trying to win back. And at the end of the day, I really enjoy the conversations of like, what is marriage? What is a relationship? What, if we had gotten together at a younger age, do you think we would have broke up by now? I really, really enjoyed that stuff. I think the screenplay is really well conceived, really well designed. And obviously it got nominated for Best Original Screenplay, that and Best Picture. So I'm kind of bummed that Greta Lee didn't get nominated for Best Actress because I thought she was really good in this. The acting's really good. You also,
I think
I'm
the director.
jumping around.
No, you're good. I think the director, Celine Singh,
Song's good.
should have got.
This was her first. This was her first feature film, and she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that. Do you think, and jumping ahead, I guess we can we're kind of all over the place now. Do you think that they would have? Do you think going into the movie that they were going to get back together, or do you think that it was already set in stone of this was her life and she wasn't going to change it just because he came back into the picture?
When I first watched it, I thought they were going to end up together. Um, and then watching it the second time, obviously knowing the ending, I was like, when she tells him when they're video chatting that she immigrated from Canada to New York and it was hard, and she now has this thing that she really wants to do, and she has these
Mm-hmm.
goals, and she said she's not coming back, not even to visit. That kind of gives you the hint, like, wow, she's staying true to it. And then they kind of end things there, and then it doesn't mention that they talk again for a few more years, probably.
Yeah, I think there's like a 2 year. There's 12 years when they first got from the kids to the time they do the Skype calls, and then another 12 years after they break that off and they actually meet in New York again.
Yeah.
So it's like it seems longer than that, but I guess it's like what, 2 years essentially.
It probably just seems longer than that because she found Arthur and she got married.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like when I first watched it, even though, there's still that scene, the ending scene where he gets off and goes, I thought she was just going to hop in the car with him.
Oh, and then she just, it tracks her back to the apartment and she's like,
Yeah.
It's almost like, did I make the right choice for myself in life? You
Yeah.
know? Something else I noticed was when the reunion in New York and they go to like where the merry-go-round is and at the harbor. Did you notice like there's like it just follows them, it just follows them all the way through, but there's couples all around them and when they're talking about marriage. I was like, that is such a genius aspect of the filmmakers uh telling of the story, and that yeah, we're talking about marriage, we're talking about relationships, but why can't we work when there's everyone around us? Because everyone around us is everyone around them is a couple. And I'm just like, yeah, I've been there. I've gone to some place where it's just like there's couples all around me. It's just like, God damn it, what am I doing wrong?
Well, see, it also kind of reminds me of like if this was his hometown and he took her to this spot where it was like the makeout spot, that's what it also felt like.
Oh yeah.
But it's,
Yeah.
let's talk about like let's put yourself in Arthur's shoes. How would you
Mm-hmm.
feel? Because that's
And
that's awkwardness throughout the whole ending
uh
half of the movie.
and I've been in those situations where, it may not be another language, but they're talking about something that you're not in the know of. And the Celine song, I'll give her credit. You actually feel sorry for Arthur in that situation. It's like, damn, they're just going on. They're just telling about their lives in Korean, and he's just stuck there being like, oh, you kind of have to do that thing where it's just like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that. You're sitting there going like, damn, this is so awkward.
But he knows Korean though.
He knows some Korean. He couldn't grasp the entire. I don't think he could grasp the entire conversation. When Nora and Sung are talking in Korean, and it kind of cuts back to him, and he's like real sad. I think that in that moment he kind of realizes like, yeah, they do deserve to be together. Almost. It's not. I don't think it's like it's not a language barrier thing. It's the I'm really holding you back from your one true love. So
She's like, yeah, I'm gonna not teach him. I'm gonna get this dick in
certain
Korean.
words, right? So would this movie be like a 10 if that just turned on a right off the cliff?
Let's talk about that for a minute because this is A24. Did you have any feeling of any random weird A24 ending? Because we always talk about A24 and how they can just turn things at the end of a hat. Did you have any of that feeling? Like,
No, this is more. What is this? Is this rated R or PG-13?
PG-13.
It's PG-13. It was a very tamed A24 film. I was quite surprised by it. This could have been Universal, Paramount. It didn't, like you say, it had A24 vibes. I didn't think that at all. I just kind of thought this was just like a every other day dramedy essentially.
When I
or
when I
romantic
say
dramedy.
A24 vibes, I mean by just the way you can tell the way it's shot, the way the
Yeah.
cinematography goes, the score, and I have it in my notes. It's like you can tell it's a good, like they really mean for this to be a New York City movie. If New
Yeah.
York City is part of if New York City itself is a character, and I think they do that perfectly in this movie as far as like just wide shots, just, the streets, the
Hmm.
wide shots of the city. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that in the terms of when it cuts back to New York and Seoul, Korea, South Korea.
mhm.
Um, they're trying to set up the idea, or they're trying to show the idea of two different lifestyles, and that those two cannot really mix in a certain way. And I like how, like you said, Nora's very motivated. Like she wanted to win the Pulitzer, she wanted to win, the Tony Award. Her goals change as life goes on. While Songs is just trying to be like, I just want to find happiness. Like I want to find that person that makes me whole. So
Yeah. Um,
something else I really really liked, and we don't really have to have this conversation, but like when they're on the Staten Ferry and they go by the Statue of Liberty, I feel like in today's world, that scene has much different meaning than it would have like 20
30
years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah. It's like the Statue of Liberty means something now than it did than 30 years ago, essentially.
I'm opposite. I think it meant more 30 years ago than it does now.
Like what do you like? I'm just talking about just the meaning of what does the Statue of Liberty mean now to America? It's
But what do you think?
changed.
What do you think it means?
I think the Statue of Liberty has always been a symbol of freedom and the idea of you can come and make your dreams a possibility. And now in today's world,
Yeah, you
it
can't do that.
doesn't. You can't do that. It's much more complicated than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You can't come to this country and make, I don't know, just make yourself a bakery and be successful. Now it's just there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through in order to make that a reality.
I think it meant more 30 years ago. Like I think the symbolism of the Statue of Liberty is just it's just there now. It's a even though then it was like a tourism thing too, like, you know, coming to this country and that being one of the first things you see if you travel from maybe the Asian parts from the east side to the east coast. That's one of the first things you see when you come in on the ferry.
Yeah.
I don't think it means that much anymore just because of how many different ways there are to get over here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And everyone's depiction or everyone's description of the American dream is completely different than it was 30 years ago.
And everybody's deception of the United States is different from it was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
This
that's true.
this movie feels like it should have been made in the mid 80s.
It kind of has that vibe, almost like the aesthetic of the movie
Yeah.
kind of feels that way. You're talking about Jackie earlier in our recent watches. I feel like it has that type of like aesthetic to it, but it doesn't have like the 70s or the 80s grime that film back then has.
Yeah, I think this movie would and could have been made like in the mid 80s, and instead of voice chatting, maybe they're going by emails or letters.
Yeah, you know how
Like,
the Holdovers is the Holdovers is like filmed like in a 70s type of aesthetic. I
mhm.
feel like this movie would be a lot better served if it was done that way.
Mm. But it works nonetheless. Like it's not a bad movie. It's not terrible.
No.
Um, and I don't think it's going to, but the Oscars doesn't have voting, right? Like you can't see who won second in Best
Mm,
Picture votings, right? Like
no.
like sports MVPs or something. I think they should do that. I think it should be like an open voting ballot. Just of course between the academies, just
Right.
between those.
But if you get to vote, then you get to see who came in second place. Like
I would like to see that.
if Oppenheimer won Best Picture, then what was the percentage compared to Killers of the Flower Moon and Past Lives? Like where were
Yeah,
they
I
in
wish
the
they would release that.
spectrum? Yeah, I
I wish they
agree.
would do something like that. Because I don't think Past Lives is going to win, but I do think I don't know. I don't know how the Academy says, okay, this is one of the 10 best films of the year. I don't know. I just want to know. Let me do it this way. Show your work. I want
Yeah,
to
I
see
agree.
how it got there.
Yeah, because like the only nominations this got was, like I said, Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. You could have done Best Director for Sling Song. You could have done Best Actress for Greta Lee. Best
Well,
Cinematography.
not only that, but like I want to know just like out of all the thousands of movies that was released in 2023, how did this movie make the final 10 spots?
Yeah, I agree.
How
And
did
while
this
you have
how,
other films like,
how did this outdo Creed 3?
yeah,
I just want to know the work.
what's the math? Yeah,
Yeah.
you have your answer, but how'd you come to that answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. So, do you have any final thoughts on the movie? Like, did you like how the movie kind of ended? How it was kind of a tracking shot of them going to the cab, and then it follows her all the way back to the apartment.
Yeah, I think that was one single shot too. I don't think there was any cuts in between from the moment the cab left, and she just walked all the way back to her husband. Um, it almost felt like it was her final walk. It
Yeah,
almost felt like her. It almost felt like she knew somebody was watching her. Like, is she being judged?
yeah.
Um, and then I don't know.
I put in my notes the final goodbye because I think they both knew at that point that they weren't going to see each other again.
Um, yeah, I enjoyed that final scene, but I like how it cut and you saw Sung. That was the final shot of him in the cab, just looking back at the city.
Yep, that's true.
So
So,
if you're Arthur and she comes back into your arms and she starts just sobbing, you
mhm.
know, what do you do?
I mean,
You comfort her, tell her it's going to be all right, and go give her some street meat up front.
no, I kick her off the steps and be like, "Go!" No,
Go back up to the room and give her some New York style hot dog.
some uh lovely pizza. Yeah. No, I think that's really hard because I feel like you really want to like be there for her and like be her supportive rock, but at the same time you kind of wonder to yourself, am I holding her back from the person that she's supposed to be with? And that that's a very tricky question. I mean, that could have easily, like you said, the movie could have ended with her going into the cab with him, and that's the end of the film.
Because, like, you're also like, is she staying here and she's choosing me because of me? Or does she choosing me because she wants to stay in New York City and she has all these goals that she wants to meet and I'm just along for the
Right.
ride?
Right.
So,
I kind of like how it just kind of ends with them going to the apartment, and that's it. That's the last time you see him, and you don't really get, like you said, is she there for her goals, or is she there because she loves him?
yeah.
So,
But um you have any favorite scenes?
favorite scenes. I know you kind of didn't like them, but like the Skype calls, the reconnecting of them, just doing the Skype calls, I really enjoyed that because I've done that with, you know, just different people I've known in my life, and it's you kind of get butterflies and excitement to see them on the phone call, even though you're kind of just nervous to be like, what if this is going to be a complete disaster? And the merry-go-round metaphor when they're just sitting there talking about life and fate, and it's just they're kind of going through this whole circle all over again. So, what about you?
Um Probably one of my favorite scenes is going to be where they're at the bar and the husband Arthur is probably like the third wheel obviously,
Yeah.
and they're talking about Korea work, military, and the overtime. And they're like, you could work 60 hours and there's no overtime in Korea.
Mm,
You it kind of makes you think and wonder, like, hey, I'm sure that's real too. I don't think the director would just throw that in there, not knowing that that's not real.
right.
Um, So the deep conversations like that, in the opposite of you again, I like the awkwardness whenever Arthur is in the scenes because it makes it feel like she's doing something she's not supposed to be doing. Um, I don't know. And at the end of the day, you're kind of like, man, did she, not cheat? But I like how it showed her not flirting with the idea of cheating.
Yeah, because at the end, right before he gets in the cab, there's that that long pause of like, are they gonna kiss? Like, are
Yeah,
they just like she's like you said, just is she gonna throw away her marriage just to be with
yeah.
him at the end?
And, they could have held hands. She could have pushed something off, but she didn't.
Yeah,
Um, I don't like how it took 54 minutes though for the adult versions of each other to meet. So that first meeting between the two was a good scene. Um, and then I like the conversations with Arthur and Nora in the bedroom, in the bathroom, and then when he starts talking to her about like hot wings and shit, like what is chicken wings. I thought those were fun conversations, and you can
yeah,
tell those you can tell that those are some good acting scenes.
yeah.
Um, we've seen a lot of movies, man, of 2023. It's going to be interesting to see where this one ranks exactly 1 month from today, Sunday, March 10th, 11 a.m. We're talking our top 5 plus 5 movies of 2023. It's going to be interesting to see if this one is involved. Zach, what's your star rating for Past Lives?
I'll just go ahead and say this will not be in my top 10. I'll just go ahead and say that.
You're supposed to build the anticipation.
I think this is a very strong film. I think it has good performances, good cinematography. It's worthy of the 2 nominations it's got at the Oscars. But for me, the thing that hinders it the most is the rewatchability. Like, I was kind of excited to rewatch it for this episode, and it was kind of a homework, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I don't like that. So I'm gonna give it a 7. Doesn't mean it's not a bad movie. I think originally I gave it like an 8 or a 9, but it just, like I said, rewatchability is key, and this just didn't have it. So
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to go one step above. I originally gave this movie a 10 back in December, and I'm going to lower it down to an 8. I still think it's a solid film. It's got like the story is amazing, the character development is good, the chemistry between the 2 actors, and even throwing Arthur in there. Um, I'm not a big fan of First Cow, and when I saw John
yeah,
Magaro when I saw John Magaro in this movie, I'm like, man, he was dull and boring in that movie. But he was kind of the good character in this one. So um, cinematography is amazing. I love the slow score. Um, so I'm gonna give this movie a 8. Um,
fair.
I guess same thing with you. It's not a bad movie. It was terrific the first time, but I just don't agree with the rewatchability. I was kind of, twiddling my thumbs certain scenes, and yeah. So an 8 for me, but a disappointing 8.
Yeah, it's a disappointing 7 as well, because I wanted this to still have like the memories of the first time around.
Yeah,
So this is the third. We talked about Barbie. We talked about Oppenheimer. We talked about Past Lives. We're talking Killers of the Flower Moon in 2 weeks, and then the holdovers in 4 weeks or 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So yeah, so we've done about half of the movies at least for Best Picture.
Yeah. So next week is The Creator, Sunday, March 18th. Sunday, March 20 or February 25th is Killers of the Flower Moon, and then Sunday, March the 3rd is The Holdovers. So
Yeah.
next week, you excited about The Creator? I kind of was twiddling my thumbs in the very first watch of this movie. Have you rewatched it since?
No, I'm gonna be honest. I'm dreading this rewatch because I'll talk about it on the show. So I need to rewatch it, but I'm just dreading the rewatch.
We'll get into it. It should be still a fun episode, fun conversation because it's just kind of a original creative idea. It's from the director of Rogue One. You have John David Washington in there, so some of the movies he's done so far, he has not disappointed. So we'll talk about it next week, next Sunday, February 18th, 6 p.m. new episode, Cinemen Movie Podcast. Any final nails in the coffin of past lives before we get out of here?
If you're a film nerd like us, definitely go check it out before the Oscars. Make your own opinions about it and see where you think it lands in the Best Picture conversation. Before we get out of here, I do want to send our thoughts and prayers to the family of Toby Keith, who passed away last week. It's one of those things where obviously I knew he was sick, and he did not look good the last couple months, last year. It's just one of those things that you grew up listening to him on the radio, when you find out that he passed, is like, it just doesn't make sense, honestly. But I'm sure he struggled the last year of his life, and I have fond memories of listening to Toby Keith in the car on the radio. So just wanted to shout out and give my condolences to his family.
We're not going to end on a sad note. We are ending. Super Bowl is in just a few hours. I'm predicting low scoring game. Chiefs 23, 49ers 16.
Yeah, I agree. Chiefs, I'll go a little lower. I'll go 17-9.
So I think it'll be a fun game. Anything you're looking forward to during the Super Bowl and not the game? Are you looking forward to Usher's halftime performance? Movie trailer?
I'm looking forward to the trailer of Twisters, which we're supposed to get tonight. We're supposed to get the trailer to Deadpool 3, and other things. So I'm excited to see what we're gonna get.
Are you bummed out that they don't do the full trailer anymore? They just do like a 15 seconds and then say, go check the trailer out online.
If I have to go on YouTube and watch it, I'll send my ass over to YouTube.
So yeah, Super Bowl's tonight. Should be a fun game. Everybody enjoy the Super Bowl. Be safe, and we'll listen, and we'll join you next week. New episode of the Cinemen Movie Podcast. We review The Creator, which is streaming now on Hulu. So we'll see everybody next week. Enjoy the Super Bowl.